Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to get to the substance of this rule, but it's difficult to do if we can't expect the witness to fulfill commitments that they've made to this committee. In June of last year, when you testified, I asked you a question. I asked you a question about how many times you and EPA had spoken with Mr. Podesta, who's now the chairman of the Hillary Clinton for President campaign. I asked you that question. You said you'd take it back and you'd get us an answer. We submitted a formal QFR asking you about meetings with the White House, and we got a letter back that said we had a lot of meetings. So we met with thousands of people. Ms. McCabe, how many times did you meet with Mr. Podesta?
I don't know the answer
So
to that,
still, a year and 2 months later, you haven't bothered to go back and look at your records to answer a legitimate question presented by this committee.
Congressman, we do our best to respond to the questions that we get from you, and we'll certainly do that in the future.
So the best you can do is tell this committee that you've met when asked a direct question about the politics of this rule and who you met with, a simple administrative question. The best you can do is say, we met with thousands of people. I have the letter. That's what it says. It's your response. It's the EPA's response.
Without seeing my response, Congressman, I can't speak.
Ma'am, I'll read it to you. I'll read it to you.
What else we might have said in response to your question?
It says, we reached out to thousands of people through hundreds of meetings, listening sessions, video conferences, phone calls, conference calls, and almost 2,000 emails. No mention of Mr. Podesta in the entire response. No mention of any officials from the White House in the entire response. You didn't answer the question, Ms. McCabe. It's a simple question.
I will go back and talk with folks about how we responded to your question.
When you see the frustration and when you hear members of Congress talk about the EPA being out of control, can you understand when you won't answer simple questions why someone might conclude that you don't give a darn what Congress thinks?
Well, it's unfortunate if that's your view, because I think that we're all here to serve the public.
Not just my view, Ms. McCabe. It's the view that you expressed when you said, we're not going to give you an answer, Mr. Pompeo. We're going to blow you off. It's unacceptable. Unacceptable. You said today that if a state needs more time, it's a ministerial action, you'll give them an incremental 2 years. At the end of those 3 years, if the governor of Kansas, this one or the next governor, concludes that there will be massive brownouts in Kansas as a result of complying with this rule, and writes you a letter to that effect, what will the response of the EPA be?
I can't speak to a future eventuality like that. We did ask the states.
No, you can answer it. This is a legal question. This is about the rule. The governor says we can't comply, or we're going to have poor people freezing in the winter in Kansas if we comply with this rule. Tell me what the EPA's actions will be in response to what I'm sure you will view as noncompliance with the state's obligation under this rule. Tell me what the Environmental Protection Agency is going to do to those poor people in Kansas.
I cannot speak to a future action of the EPA based on facts that we'll need to look at very, very carefully.
Right, but you'll have the right to put a federal plan in place.
We will go through a process to make a determination.
Now, it's a yes or no question, Ms. McCabe. You'll have the right to put a federal program in place. You might conclude not to do so, but you'd have the right to do so under this rule.
If a state submits a plan that we feel does not comply with the law, we have the authority. It's not a question of right. We have the authority and the responsibility under the Clean Air Act.
Right. So you talked earlier about states cooperating.
Mm-hmm.
You say they're cooperating. I don't view it as cooperation. If someone comes up to me on the street and threatens my life and I hand them my money, I just simply don't view that as cooperation. These governors will be under enormous pressure. It's not about them cooperating. It's about the heavy hand of the EPA forcing them to make decisions that they believe are inconsistent with their duty to the state and to protect the citizens of their state. But that's a far cry from cooperation, the word that you used 3 times so far this morning.
Well, I know from conversations that I've had and meetings that I've had with people that states are talking about working together.
Because they know what's coming. Let me go down it. You said there'd be fewer missed school days. Mm-hmm. How many fewer missed school days per student per year will there be as a result of the Clean Power Plan?
Well, I'd be happy to get you the numbers that we put together, Congressman. No, really. I mean,
I'll look forward to it. I mean, this is the kind of data. If you're going to make assertions here to this committee today about fewer missed school days, and you said there will be shorter allergen seasons. Mm-hmm. It would seem to me responsible of you to say this allergen season in a particular region would be shorter by 7 hours, 26 minutes plus or minus whatever your science can determine. But you throw these things out without any foundation in the data set and expect us to accept that as a fait accompli. And so I'd just like to know how many fewer school days as a result of this, and I'll look forward to your letter.
Well,
if you have a response, sure.
I can answer that because we did put that information
Great.
together.
Tell me what it is.
I just didn't want to fish through a bunch of papers
Great.
while I was listening to you. What we predicted is that in 2030, when the plan is in place, there would be 140,000 fewer missed school days.
Great. Thank you very much. I'm way out of time. Thank you.